For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rob Tart. I'm the CEO of the Durham Rescue Mission. I've been with the mission there for about 30 years, but I've only been the CEO for a little less than 4. Durham, North Carolina, many people don't know much about it. They've heard of Raleigh. They've heard of Raleigh because of Andy Griffith, and every now and then they mention Raleigh. And we're right beside Raleigh. Actually, though, you probably don't realize this, but you've spoken of Durham a lot more than you realize. There's a very famous word in baseball that was created because of the city of Durham. There was a city of Durham historically is a cigarette tobacco place, and there was a very famous, well-known tobacco brand 100 years ago called Bull Durham Tobacco. And they often advertised at baseball venues, and as the baseball players the pitchers would go to practice, they were often standing in those billboards around, they're around the football field, or baseball field, and Bull Durham Tobacco is where they were often standing in front of, and this is where we get the term, it's a bullpen. The term bullpen comes from Bull Durham Tobacco. I bet you didn't know. It's also the home of the Duke Blue Devils. And I want to talk to you about why every rescue mission needs a thrift store. I realize that's a fairly presumptive statement to make, and it's probably too presumptive to say not everybody needs the same thing, but at the same time, I think it's something everybody should at least consider. And let me say this. If you're looking to open a thrift store, or if you have a thrift store that's struggling, I would highly, highly encourage you to hire a consultant. There are consultants out there. I know Keith Overholt puts himself out there, and he consults. I think Craig Peterson, Lighthouse Ministries up in Minnesota or wherever he's from, I'm not sure. He does that. Rusty Parrish did it. I haven't talked to Rusty in a long time. There's others out there. When we first started Thrift in 2006, we hired Dr. Ed Gray. He's with the Lord today. You can't hire him. But one of the best investments we've ever made. And I know there's a lot of people, they try to do it on a dime. They try to do what comes intuitive to them. And, you wouldn't do your development that way is what I'm getting to. You would invest, and this is worthy of the investment to get some good advice. And I highly encourage that. I'll help you all I can. I don't put myself out there as a consultant, but I have gone and helped people. I gave them my 2 cents, and of course I didn't charge anything to them either. But the point being is that you need to get some good advice. One of the biggest things I hear people say is, I can't find staffing for this. I can't find enough staffing for the people for the things I have. Staffing is an issue. I just want to encourage you, and again, I'm just telling you what we've done at the Durham Rescue Mission. You don't have to do it this way. We're not perfect or experts or anything. But this is our store manager of our what we call Store 1, Justina Torres. Typical lady that's probably, you got them at Durham Rescue Mission. She had 4 children. Just couldn't make it in this world financially. She came to us for help, and today she's managing a thrift store for us. This is Jamie Owens. He's actually been with us for a number of years. Typical homeless guy with a drug addiction. He's managing a thrift store. This is Cuba Delgado. I love Cuba. Cuba, you say, why do you call him Cuba? That's not his name. We can't say his name. He's got a Japanese name for some reason, but he is from Cuba. And he came here, and forgive me for wasting time on him, but I just love Cuba because his grandfather, while in Cuba, his grandfather paid for him to go to Mexico on some student thing when he was 18 years old. And while he was in Mexico, he broke away and shot up to cross the border. This was in the year 2000 or 2000. Bill Clinton was still president, so it was still 2000. And back then we had the wet feet, dry feet position for Cuban refugees. And when he got into whatever city he got to trying to cross the border, the drug people captured him, held him captive for several weeks. And they contacted some aunt he had in Miami, and she had to pay money to get him out. But when he swam across, they let him go. They told him, go across the river here. When he got across the river, he found an American Border Patrol guy and And he told him the situation. He said, welcome to America, and he's been here ever since. But he came to America and wanted the American dream, and what he found was the American nightmare. Drug addiction and all the nasty of capitalism is what he found over here, and it ruined his life. But he came to the rescue mission. Again, no great hire from outside, a client that came to the rescue mission. We don't have, this store's not open. We're in the process of opening this store. Again, this guy, Norman Busset, he's a typical addict at the mission, doing a great job running our Wake Forest store. And then, oops, I did something wrong there. And this is Clarissa Sutton. If you don't mind, I'm going to play Clarissa's video. We created a testimony for her about 2 years ago.
My journey began when I was a child. I grew up in a household that was abusive, alcoholism, drugism, gang violence, the whole 9 yards. And it inspired me to get married, which I did. I and my husband had 4 children. We were married for 32 years. 28 of those years were domestic violence. So I endured domestic violence for 28 years of that marriage. And I decided I wasn't going to leave my husband because of our children and the family patterns that had been within my life, step parents and things of that nature. So I endured. Approximately March of 2019, I told myself, this is it. I said, I'm going to wait until my youngest daughter was in college, so that way I knew there were no more children in the house, and I was going to leave. It took me approximately a year to get that strength to even do that, but I made a commitment to myself that that's what I was going to do. It was a Thursday evening. He came in from work, I was already home, and he was stressed as usual because of whatever it is that he endured throughout his day. And we began arguing, but by this time it has been going on so long that I've learned to be quiet. Perhaps that would make it a less impact on my life, less pain. But by then the mental abuse is already there, so I'm beating myself up anyway, regardless whether he's doing it or not. So I told myself, Clarissa, you're leaving tomorrow. So that night, before I went to bed, I prayed. And I asked God, I said, God, I believe in you. Please give me the strength to just walk out that door and never look back. And as strange as it's going to sound, he actually answered me. And he said, fear not, my child, for I am with you always. I took off my wedding band and I left it on the dresser. I left my house at 7:20 in the morning after he went to work. I walked for 18 hours from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I can't tell you what direction I went. I can't tell you what cities I walked through because it's all a daze. It wasn't until I stopped into a convenience store and a gentleman was in there. Turned out he was an undercover police officer who happened to see that I was looking flushed in my face. And he asked me, was I okay? And I said, I don't know what's going on. I'm in pain. I'm hurting. So he called 911. An ambulance came and took me to Wake Med. It was there that I found out that I had internal bleeding. I had a ruptured kidney from the beating in which I suffered the previous night. One of the nurses there, about maybe 3 days later or so, she came into my room and she was talking to me and she said, Miss Sutton, she said, I don't think it's a good idea for you to go back to Elizabeth City. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you've been through. She said, but I don't think you should go back to Elizabeth City. She said, I know of a place that you can go to. She said, it's in Durham, North Carolina, and the name of it is the Durham Rescue Mission. I sat up at the edge of my bed. I raised my hands and I said, thank you. Thank you, Jesus. I stepped into the doors of the Durham Rescue Mission. I was met then by the lead supervisor and 2 other supervisors. I was barefooted. I was sore. I was in pain. I was what they call broken. And so I had to fill out my paperwork, and I'm answering the questions, and I'm like, my God, what is going on here? What do I do? So it was one of the other supervisors who came outside, and she said, Clarissa, here. And she handed me a pair of shoes. I said, ma'am, I don't have any money to pay for these. She said, that's not what we're about. She said, we're not about that, Miss Sutton. She said, you need some shoes. She said, please put these shoes on your feet. I said, thank you. So approximately 21 days later, they put my name on a board. And I was like, what is this about? And he said, it's the committee. You need to go before the committee, and they're going to ask you if you want to join our victory program. I said, what is the victory program? I'm like, wow, it's more? There's more? She said, yes. She said, it gives you a more intense Bible study. It allows you to get familiar with the Bible and with who God is and who your Lord Jesus Christ is. Are you saved? And it made me think. I thought I was saved. Am I saved? So I completed the victory program. I graduated. And my new testimony is, thank you. Thank you to the Durham Rescue Mission. Thank you to the donors who support the Durham Rescue Mission for women like me and all the women and children that come through these doors like me. We need you. I don't know what you contribute. I don't know how you contribute. I'm not in that field. But what I do know is that when you acknowledge me in the store that I work in and you say, thank you, I say thank you to you, because you don't know how you impact my life just by being you. I appreciate you just for being you. Thank you.
I want to suggest that a thrift store can help you accomplish your ministry goals. I have been accused of putting thrift above ministry. I couldn't disagree with that more. I think that thrift is ministry. and I want to clarify that. I want to back that up. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I want to clarify that because when you ask the question, when you're ministering to someone, you got to ask, who am I ministering to? Who's my target? Who am I going for? And I think this is the biggest mistake rescue missions make with thrift stores, is they think the customer is the person they're ministering to. Praise the Lord if you do by accident, but that to me is not the target. The target is the client. The target is your employee. And you could even say the donor. I'll get to that in just a moment. Now, I've been asked many times, maybe you've been asked, what's the difference between working at a rescue mission and working at a church? And I tell people all the time, working at a rescue mission is like living in one long Andy Griffith show. I mean, it really is, because there's always these unique characters coming in with this unique problem, with a unique story, and it can be quite entertaining. I said that to a pastor one time, and he said, yeah, pastoring a church is like one long nightmare. So I don't know what it is for you, but I'll say the difference between a church and a rescue mission is that a church tends to play a longer game. They want to help you birth your children and bury your dead and everything in between. Whereas in rescue missions, we're not trying to teach the whole counsel of God. We're not trying to teach them, the particulars of eschatology and all these things. Probably you have some kind of program that repeats itself with great regularity, and it's more like a boot camp for people to come through and then to move on, because you're expecting a new crowd to be coming around the corner and going through that. But one of the distinguishing marks, I think, as well from a rescue mission from a church, is that we are not only trying to help people get into the kingdom of heaven, we are trying to do that, but we're also trying to help them to be successful in this earth by teaching them life skills. Our thrift stores, our ministry, Well, I went too far. This is our mission statement. You probably have something similar to this. Our mission is to meet through the power of Jesus Christ the spiritual, educational, emotional, physical, social, vocational needs of the whole person so that those who are hurting may become fully functioning members of society. Most churches aren't trying to help people vocationally, but you are trying to help people, usually, trying to help people vocationally. And I'm suggesting that the rescue mission, the thrift store rather, can help you do that. As I said, thrift is ministry. And you say, why is it ministry? I want to show you another video. Hello, everyone. I want you to meet Don Reynolds. He came to the rescue mission some time ago. When were you here at the mission, Don?
I started in 2019.
2019, he came through here. He worked out at our thrift store, at our warehouse. You drove a truck for us, right?
I did.
And then on the weekends, you went to Alamance Community College. You got your CDLs?
I went to Elite Truck Driving School and got my CDLs.
Elite Truck Driving School and got his CDLs. He did it on the weekends, right?
I did.
Well, he worked here through the week. Great guy. What are you doing now, Don?
I drive a tractor trailer now.
Tell us more about what you're doing.
Well, I go up north, New York. I go to New Jersey. I go to Pennsylvania, all up north up there to get loads to come back, and I get paid pretty good to do that job. And I'm thankful for this mission for helping me get to that position.
He's a man of many talents. He could do anything in the world while he was here. He just needed to get his life together. Because of you and others like you, your prayer and your support, we thank you. And Don, thanks you for what you've done for us all. Thank you. Now, this man, he was a roofer and a kind of a construction type guy. He got into a stage in life where his body just couldn't take that anymore. He ends up at the rescue mission, and he starts driving a truck for us. And he says, I think I can drive a truck, you know. And he goes, the point I'm getting to, so often in working, people find their calling in life. And when you have this kind of an arena for people to work in with you, it just helps them to sort things out. And he's a great example of someone who can do that. So what are some other benefits of having a thrift operation? I want to suggest that having a thrift store can help your development department too. You say, what do you mean by that? Well, I've got a statistic here. This is some gifts that are given to us at the Durham Rescue Mission at a city in Roxborough, North Carolina, which is about 20 miles north of Durham. We opened a thrift store up there in 2021. And this is in this very small community, only like 9,000 people in this town. But you can see the gifts that were coming in that time, from 2016, 2018, 21 when we opened the thrift store. I'm tripping over a wire. You can see the jump we had of income. And this here is the actual number of gifts. The gifts, this here, you could argue this is the COVID bump here in 2020. But the income actually went up as the COVID bump went down. I want to suggest, this is just my opinion, I want to suggest it is because we became more real to them and part of that community up there. Because we had a footprint up there and we had a sign on the highway there that said Durham Rescue Mission Thrift Store. And when we sent out some mailing, we've been mailing that area for years, but it became different when we had a footprint up there. And I think it helped. And it's hard to measure this, how it helps in all of everything, but here's another statistic. Oops, I went too far. This is another statistic, and this is Wake Forest Thrift Store. The problem with this thrift store, Wake Forest is in the same county as Raleigh, as a Raleigh Rescue Mission. And I made the mistake when we opened this thrift store, I didn't call it the Durham Rescue Mission Thrift Store because I thought, why would we put the Durham, this is actually before the Roxborough thrift store. I didn't call it. I call it, our corporate name is Rescue Mission Ministries. And I really believe people thought we were the Raleigh Rescue Mission, is what I'm getting to. And yeah, our income did go up, and the gifts did go up, but it didn't go up as dramatically. And I think because so many people thought we were with the Raleigh Rescue Mission. Now, I've since changed that name. You can see, I don't know if you can see on this picture, the original was called Rescue Mission Ministries. Again, that's our corporate name. Durham Rescue Mission is actually a DBA. We've taken that off, and I don't have an old picture of the old sign, but it says Durham Rescue Mission there. But even today, I think people think it's the Durham Rescue Mission. I think I made a mistake there. But my point is, I do think having a sign out there on the wall where people can come in and look at you and see that, it only helps you. Another thing we do in the mission, at the Durham Rescue Mission with our thrift store, is that we profile our ministry in the rescue mission. I mean, occasionally we stuff the shopping bags with information on what's going on at the rescue mission. We actually got testimonial pictures up on the wall of graduates, and David there, he's creating, or somebody's creating, these, what do you call those things you stick on there that you can go to a website? It's like some kind of code they could do their phone with. It used to look like a barcode, now they look all square. But you can do that. I think that's been effective. We actually ask for cash donations at our thrift store. You know, we ask people to round up. And then around the Christmas holiday time, we ask them to donate to help feed people. And I think this is so cool. You don't have to do this.